So tell me the music background, because as I say, I also have this strong thing about music. It's absolutely important that my working life and my working life and my personal life are blend. They have a blend to them, and I think music is a lot of how it happens. So,
I started. My first instrument was the accordion. I started when I was 7. I was born in Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
My parents got me an electric guitar when I was 13. And so for no reason that I could discern, they decided it was a good birthday present, a secondhand electric guitar, and that changed really everything. And I think it was really, right around that age discovered the guitar, discovered rock and roll, and then I wanted to rock, but I always liked building things.
Yeah.
And I think in college, just felt like, wow, I want to learn more music, but I also want to learn how to. I want to rock, but I want to help other people rock. By building things, tools that they can use. And I think in grad school was really kind of computer science, but the special area was computer music.
Uh-huh.
So I ended up working on computer music software and then making a programming language for music. I ended up as Chuck, I was in my PhD dissertation in Princeton, and somehow I found myself at Stanford in the music department. And it was, Stanford has the Center for Computer Research and Music and Acoustics, CARMA, CCRMA, and it's really this fellowship, loose fellowship of people from many different disciplines, really working on kind of technology in the service of music and making music. So, I suspect as for you, music, it's like food for the soul. Food is music for taste buds, and maybe music is kind of food for
It's hard to describe, isn't it?
It's hard to describe.
That's right. Well, you can build a metaphor out of it. I don't know if you want to go ahead and dig into one of the bags. Are you cool about that?
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't know what the pieces are here, but I'm thinking
that's the whole idea in card, is that there's this random, you just throw them on the table.
Yeah. I'm just attracted to the non-standard pieces in a way, because they kind of. I haven't actually built anything with Legos in a long time, but I love Legos back in the day. I don't know, music is like. Do you read Watchmen? When Dr. Manhattan is on Mars and he makes this edifice appear out of the desolation, and it's exquisite and it's beautiful. It's you actually don't really wonder what the function of the thing is. It's just this thing clear structure, it's clear kind of intention, and it's just there for almost no reason. But it's so. It's also so no reason, but not frivolous. Kind of like this thing. I think music is kind of like that. I don't know. I don't think I can go with. I can't really Dr. Manhattan, but I think I can. I don't know what I would build. I don't know. What would you say?
Well, I would say being a good Lego series play practitioner, just let your hands do the thinking, and whatever they construct, the metaphors will come out of that. Trust the model.
Trust the model. Yeah. Where does this tree go? I'm not actually dealt with these. Is this supposed to go on?
It can go on anything, and it will basically turn until it's. You've got connectors in here, and you've got a couple of minifigures. There's usually two. There are two. This is a standard kit. There are two in the bag.
I want to make a.
way, in the book you talk about Csikszentmihalyi's flow, which is an absolutely important and vital component in doing Lego series play. The facilitator's job, you have to make flow happen. It's it is you must, if there's nothing else you do, is that you keep creating a combination of skills, right? Skill building, and then challenges.
Yes.
And every time you iterate, so this is an iterative process. Every time you iterate, the flow just keeps increasing.
Yeah, and it's, to me, like flow is like in games, but also like in music. It's kind of this notion of the optimal experience where like you just get in the zone. It's not unlike almost like kind of these experiences where like almost tribal or religious experiences where you kind of really, well, you get into flow, and whether sometimes it might be substance induced, sometimes it's really just kind of it's music, it's dance, and in a way, it's to me that's also the relationship to the sublime, which is I think represents something of in all of us that want to kind of reach and touch the transcendent. And the flow is kind of kind of music as a game. It's kind of this stillness, this focus, but it's an elevation, and I don't know. That's kind of I try to relate a lot of things that I've come across in putting together this book. I think to this idea of the sublime, and I think that's kind of what flow also means to me. But it's kind of I think in games as in music, as in playing an instrument, I'm really ever trying to strive to reach that. Yeah.
So I'm going to put words in your mouth.
Please, yes.
If I may, but I think it's very interesting, particularly as you get towards the back,
yes,
and you really start to talk about value systems and purpose.
Absolutely.
And meaning to the individual and meaning to the process of being a designer. And here's the word I want to use that you don't. I don't know if you use a lot of it, but the moral value, that in other words that which is sublime also typically has supports a value of higher morals.
I would say so. Certainly, we could go. In the Kantian sense, he had the moral sublime. It was kind of really, but I think, everything seems. But I don't think. I think very happy to have those words put in my mouth, because I think it's very, very compatible, very true to kind of the way I've been trying to think about it, and it's like it's not easy to think about. It's really but I don't know, somewhere between this, kind of going back to this idea of the transcendent and whatever that is. To me, it's at least my conception of the transcendent is, it's just something really beyond our limits of comprehension. But what if there's out there this notion of beauty, but of truth, right? This kind of goes back to the ancient Greeks. And to me, I think the moral sublime, or the moral, I think there's something truthful about I think what the sublime is and has to be, and because it's like taking all the filters out, taking off all the goggles, and seeing things for what they really, really are, with a capital R, really are. R. And, and I don't know, and I think morality it gets at a kind of truth, I think, in ourselves, whatever that means to different people. I don't think that there's one way to think about it. But
that's true, yes.
But it is, I think of it as getting at at this kind of truth and being true to ourselves. So it's a little abstract for me to think about, but I think this is also kind of the kind of thing I try to put into the book. But continue.
Because you talk about what we could call ethical design or design ethics. There's a fellow named Adrian Howard from the UK who I know him through the world of UX, and I've he's done talks and whatnot about the ethics in user research, right? Things like that, and the whole issue when Facebook was testing people, influencing unknowing to them. In other words, they were unwitting testers for what they saw in their feed and how it would affect them emotionally, and how their feed then would build on that, and so on and so forth. And it was a beautiful moment where he said, "Here's a really key example of do we have an ethical / moral response," and that's why I use the word moral. In my mind, it's moral, an ethical responsibility to either not do that stuff or to do it so that we do it with no harm. And you talk about this going beyond, not just do no harm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm so glad you picked up on that. It's already hard enough to do no harm, and I think do no harm could be the more Hippocratic oath type of do no harm, for doctors, but engineers maybe could also have that as Google's own model, do no evil. And now I think much of the ethics in technology is shifted really to, at least kind of been distilled to this question of how do we not do evil, how do we not make monstrous technology. Mm-hmm. But I think at some levels also seems like a really low bar to do no evil.
Yes.
And at least think of it, it's a worthwhile goal, but it's kind of necessary but not sufficient. I think sufficient for me in design is also to ask, how do we do good? And I think that goes back, I think, it's more of it gets back to more of an issue of quality rather than simply right or wrong, because a lot of times it's not that clear. Right. But I think, and this goes back to value, what does it mean to design well, and what does it mean to do good? And then you have to ask, what does good even mean? But then in trying to answer that question, I think you always go back to, I think maybe the only place you can go back to is your values. What are your values you're trying to put in this thing? What are you really hoping people get out of it? And you hope that what they get out of it aligns with something genuinely you feel aligns with, the best as you can tell, something that's valuable to them. And something that it's a weird balance, because we barely know ourselves. How can we say, for another person, I think you want this, right? So, but at the same time, I think this is where the art part comes in, where you kind of, I think you could go and survey people and ask them what they need, but a lot of times they're not going to be able to tell you fully what they need. You have to kind of, I think artists, the artists in all of us can, we feel it. We feel it in the pulse of the world around us. We feel it in the people that we try to understand, and then we use that understanding and try to put that understanding into the things we build. And I think that's that's one way I think of maybe doing good, and of not just saying how do we not have people over, but rather what is it that people really need. And Apple actually, I think, has one example where sometimes people maybe complain Apple maybe has gone a little too far, and that this is not, you want me to use my computer in this way, huh? But clearly, there is a value system that Apple designs from, and that's something that is much more clear in Apple than I would say in other large tech companies these days. But the morality, I think the argument in the book is that the design is all about decisions, and if the decisions you make in designing things, whether it's a software, hardware, a tool, a toy, even an instrument, like that changes how people behave, how they think, how they relate to each other. And if that is the case, then shouldn't the decision we make in design, well, that's tantamount to actually taking action directly, like in real life. If that is so, then shouldn't we be bound by exactly the same moral, ethical frameworks that we find ourselves to in life? And design is life, and so is technology. It's all part of it. And so those are that's part of the argument, I think, of why design cannot be anything other. You need to consider the moral and the ethical.
Yeah.
And for me, morality is more like the individual, and the ethical is more like when it values. Morality is like, what are the values of the individual, and how are you expressing those values, and are you expressing those values? And then ethics for me is when I think values, like, it's more organizational, more of a system, more societal, and it's also when values come in conflict in the system between people. How do you deal with that? Are you trying to minimize harm? Are you trying to maximize good? Are you But these are all, I think, worth thinking about. And the last thing I'll say on the more ethical thing is, I think this question then of why design morally, what does it mean to design morally, is really no different than why be moral or why be ethical. Because I think if we buy the first part of the arguments, and that design is exactly taking action in any other context, because it is decisions that affect people. But the answer to like why be moral, why be ethical, well, different people have humanity's tried to answer this question for thousands of years. I think for me, like Artful Design, I think provides a non-answer. And it's like, morality is I think for me it has to be a choice. You can't motivate morality to be like, well, this is going to benefit you this way. It's often the opposite, right? You do the thing because it's the thing to do, often when it's against your rational self-interest. You're doing it for the sake of what you think someone else is. The best you can discern what someone else really, what they think is good for them. And so this is where the Kantian morality thing, Kant had just one category. He had hypothetical imperatives, which is like you do A for the sake of B. And that's not necessarily bad or good. It's just much of how I took a cab to get here. That was a means to an end. It was a hypothetical imperative. I needed to do that to get here.
Post-it note of hypothetical.
There it is. Yeah. And Kant has
just the things I wanted to talk to you about. So go ahead.
Kant had just one categorical imperative. He said it, I think, in two ways. The second formulation I quoted in the book, which is never treat humanity, whether in another person or in yourself, as a means to an end, but always as an end in itself. And I think said more succinctly, I think to me he's just saying, like, categorically respect the humanity of every human being.
Mm-hmm.
Period. There is no and I think everything you do, I think, could be. You could do this check to see, and am I speaking? Am I really doing that? Right. And I think this is related to now what I call I think it was the platinum rule. Have you heard the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Platinums, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. Yes. And really, it's kind of like Kant talking about that's really kind of friendship. This true friendship isn't like doing unto others like what you like, but you really got to figure out what's good for them, and not in a prescriptive way, but in a way that's you're genuinely trying to be like a true friend to somebody.
Yeah.
Figure out what they really need when they tell you, and also when they can't tell you, and you just do your best. And in that sense, I think each person, yeah, everyone should be an end in themselves. Facebook, for example, as a counterexample to this,
Yes.
it's a little too easy to pick on these days, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh, that's okay.
And it was pretty clear, like becoming even more clear now. Even though I think, well, the Facebook was never quite designed with your or my well-being in mind. It was designed very clearly to engage us, such that engagement could be monetized. And so, in that sense, we are like means to Facebook's financial end.
Yes.
If Facebook were instead primarily designed to say, is this something that actually like helps you in your relationship with others? This. I think Facebook is trying to say it's moving into this time well spent model, but I'm looking at it as a designer. I'm like, your product sucks. Your product, like going through this whole like my social kind of sphere reduced to feeds of posts that people can like or not like and comment on. That seems to be like so reductive. It's like it's the opposite of Legos. Like it's just this artificial stream of things, and things that are profound become like trite. I see my friends from high school, they're married, they have kids, and I some of them, like, these are momentous moments, but Facebook doesn't induce sublimity in you in these things. It kind of the opposite, it dumbs it down. And I think even beyond all the echo chambers, the algorithms, the fake news, and everything else, whether intended, those I don't believe Facebook probably did not intend for that to happen, but I go back to even this, like, that's like a do no evil, but I'm coming back to this do good, right? And it's this question is like these things that are actually so profound, these moments just get kind of like watered down by the medium of what Facebook is. And it doesn't matter how engaged I am in this model. When's the last time you really felt something on Facebook? It's weird. The things that I think I should feel, I don't feel. I just feel like I should like this, so I like it.
Right.
I should comment and say congratulations. That's it. Maybe because it's so reductive. It's like not exactly the opposite of expressive, which is what this is. You can, given enough time, I'm gonna actually put a torso here. Given enough time, you can really express yourself this way. And exactly what you're saying. It's like in the process of like doing and building something, in some ways that's like one of the fullest ways to express the profundity of things, right? And so it starts with this whole long-winded thing, but like everything's so connected from the craft to the ethics of design, and to things like I think that's really profound that you don't have one categorical imperative, because you can boil so many other things back down, and it's general, but yet for him it's obviously categorical, but it leaves a lot of room for agency. Like it's the platinum rule. You have to try to do your best to figure out what someone else truly wants, even beyond what they can tell you. Not in a prescriptive way, but really to be a friend to them. And I think in different fields like that will translate to very different kinds of decisions. But as a general check, I feel like anyone making decisions, again, this is why it just goes back to morality, could choose to ask that question. It's like, is the thing I'm doing actually benefiting the people that it's actually serving, or am I just using them for my own ends? Right? And it's okay to have people provide a service. I think Colin would say, this is why you gather consent from others. It's okay to I think really with consent, help each other. The way we actually be a means to someone else's end. But you can't do that. You don't exploit them, right? And And anyway, so this is kind of
It turns into a 50-page online EULA that nobody reads.
right.
Right. So funny.
Oh yeah, EULA isn't really. Who reads that first of all, and also shouldn't that be expressed directly in the product, right?
Interesting, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook doesn't matter what Facebook says it does. The product is what it is.
Right.
You know, I think Instagram feels a little bit better, even and I'm waiting to see what Facebook does with Oculus and VR.
Yeah.
But the main product that is Facebook is no matter how they talk about it, and I think their version of time well spent on Facebook just means more are people commenting, but that's still like this. Someone compared. I think Facebook is really kind of like, and this is even insulting to fast food, but they call it the fast food of like social networking, right? And I think that's like. I think that's actually insulting to fast food because it's like even worse. I think it's just so something that should be so sublime.
Yeah.
As our relationship with another person gets just reduced to what Facebook's vision of what social means was really their business vision of how to make money. So, yeah. Sorry for the rant, but that's kind of
rants are the best thing ever. I love rants. I've had a few I've said the fuck yeah to, and I've had a few where I've been the victim of them. So it's like you can go either way, but it's okay. I'm pretty cool about that. I'm very cool about that. So you brought food in. I'm glad. I know you talked about we got a lot of food stuff going on here.
I'm a big fan.
So I want to go back to one thing with for you, because this is a design book, so that means there's sublimity and purpose. I know that you're adhering to your own with the book. Who are you intending it for?
That's a good question. 3 years writing this book, I no longer know what it's really about.
Okay.
What it's really for. But if I had to say, I think at some level it was written for like the engineer with the soul. I think that's whoever that audience is, and I'm hoping that's a big audience.
I hope so too. My work, particularly in the last 5 years, has been very much around.
It sounds like helping them find the soul in what they do.
Right. Is exactly what. Yes.
So I think that's and that comes from a place as I'm sure you can relate of like feeling like we're running out of runway in every regard, technologically, like environmentally, politically, like just name something, and we're kind of running out of runway, partly due to technology itself, because this is, like, I think, you look at history of civilization in the short time that we've had history, and yeah, I think there's a sliding window, and, social progress kind of takes I don't know how many steps forward and how many steps back, but just kind of then, like, we've never had this much technology. We've never had this, both in not just in weapons, but like, first of all weapons, but also just things that have a lot of side effects, and so I don't know how much more time we actually have to design in a way that isn't gonna just at some level, like, just destroy ourselves. We've been doing that environmentally, I think. But that's also not that different than this, I think somewhere in the book I say, like, how we get there matters too. It's not just the results.
Yeah.
I think when we look back to how we do something, we should be proud of, like, all of it, every step. It's like if you created a cool product, fun, clever, useful, be exploited, people got exploited along the way. I would say that product, despite the result, is not sublime, is not aesthetic, is not moral, because it kind of was built on, like, it's people being harmed or people who were exploited.
Right. It was only living in a hypothetical imperative. imperative
And again,
without any
right. And the categorical imperative, I think, is something that it's like a full stack type of thing from, you should try every step of the way, just like life, it's not like where you get necessarily, but like how you get there really matters. You can't just say, okay, I'm here now, great, and we're all making mistakes, but there's clear points of decision where, I don't know, I think the principle in the book is like worthiness of survival is as important to survival itself.
Which is beautiful.
And so I think to me, I think that's back to a question of audience. I think it's, at some level, it's engineers that are and will be shaping the world. And on a broader level, it's like we all are designing. We all design, from the layout of our homes and in offices to our wardrobe to our day to any aspect of our work that we're trying to, as you know, materialize intention into something. We consciously go about shaping the world to align with some established aim, purpose, but also something you would hope you get out of it. So sorry for the long answer again, but I think that's who it's for.
No, that's cool. And I'm very much in alignment with that. I was a couple of other things were sort of, as you talk, there's stuff that's floating in my head. Well, one thing that I was thinking about a little bit earlier was the idea of, you have a role as a teacher and a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing that?
Stanford is my 11th year.
Okay.
I'm teaching, I think I started teaching this book in my Art of Design computer music class this term. And we're writing a lot of code using Unity, which is Unity plus Chuck.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
wow.
So one of my grad students created this bridge between them. So you can natively write C# code. Within that, you can embed or load Chuck code.
Yeah.
And the two timing it's connected. So it's you can do graphics and audio. Kind of in the same framework, and so they're using that. They're using some C++. But this quarter, I'm having them kind of read a chapter a week, and then I'm teaching a first-year course. It's much larger next term. I've never been taught so I've never taught it, but it's trying to. What's called Design That Understands Us, and it's. And it uses this book, uses Frankenstein, Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, Don Orman's Design Making Things, Minari's Design as Art. And I think they're going to try to help students build their own aesthetic, moral, ethical, philosophical lenses on design. The design and how this idea of, how do we recognize and how do we put values into the things that we build in life and that we encounter in life, and build this critical lens around the shaping of technology. And at some level, and I guess I'm trying to teach engineering, art, humanities, and social sciences without saying as much, but kind of teaching them together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think design is this vehicle that kind of actually embodies all of these things. I like to say design is not about design. It's about things. It's about all the ideas.
Is it a problem deep?
Yeah.
This is not a pipe.
This is not a pipe. Yeah, this is not a pipe.
I don't know you have it in there, but yes, that's exactly.
That's in there, yes.
Yeah. Design is not design.
Design is not about design.
It's
about everything else. And so I think we're going to look at a number of these everything else.
Yeah.
But part of it's engineering precision, like the nuts and bolts, and discipline, the craft. And then there's the artistic angle, which is both on one hand the craft of design, but also the kind of this idea that, I think as artists we try to feel the pulse of the world, and that is really as informative as any language you can put in words about you put into it, and then you put how you feel this pulse of the world into what you're doing. I think all design embodies a certain philosophy,
mm-hmm.
right? And and also like this kind of, I think they can't help but incorporate one's moral ethical framework into it. And then the social angle, of course, is like everything we do has the social dimension to it, because I think we're going to change the way people think about themselves, the way people relate to the object. Like Kirk Nass's, I think we actually relate everything socially, objects to, even when we don't think about them that way, and certainly to each other. I think those are the different dimensions. And yeah, actually, my first example is the zipper bag.
Yeah.
And then ocarina. Have you seen this played?
Yeah.
So.
But go for it.
So it's we use this also as an example of things that are not necessarily about problem solving as we're thinking of it, right? And in ocarina, like I tell ask students to consider like, well, how did this get how was this designed? Also, why was this designed? Right? Here's Xiaomi from Indonesia, right? In the globe, and it wasn't like we asked people like, what do you need on your phone? People that need to blow into it to make music. Also need to hear other people blow the phones around the world. So there's a lot of engineering in this.